Hey everybody, welcome to IELTS reading practice, power hour, if you want to call it that. How's everyone doing? Good. Thank you for organizing the webinar. You're welcome. Just had dinner. Yeah, what'd you have for dinner? Good. Chicken tandoori. All right, that's good. That's good. So, IELTS. IELTS is similar to TOEFL, but it's also a little bit different, as you'll see in some of these exercises. Is anybody taking the IELTS, or are you here just because you want to hang out, maybe a little bit bored? Okay, taking it next week. Okay. We'll give it soon. Okay. So the IELTS is, it's different than the TOEFL. It's a lot less academic, in my opinion. So the TOEFL is very kind of subject heavy. You'll have a passage about, blah, 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 like some kind of academic subject. The questions tend to be more academic, like inference questions, purpose questions, academic vocabulary, things like that. The IELTS tends to be more like if you go to a doctor's office and you read a magazine, can you understand what you're reading? It's a little bit different, but they kind of measure the same thing. They measure English proficiency. The IELTS also has a lot more variety in the number of tasks. The TOEFL is pretty much multiple choice. Everything's multiple choice. IELTS has matching exercises, fill in the blank exercises, labeling exercises. So just a lot more variety. Which test is more fun? I find the IELTS to be more fun, if I'm being completely honest. The thing about the IELTS, though, is they really only have one trick and one trick only, and that is to change the vocabulary. That's it. It's not really a thinking test. The TOEFL in some ways can be a thinking test, like with inference questions and stuff like that, not to the level that the GRE is, but the IELTS is literally just like a giant vocabulary test. For example, the reading passage might say, "This is the most important discovery in the last 100 years," and the correct answer would say, this finding, rather than discovery, this finding is of paramount importance in the last century. So notice they just like to change the vocabulary. That's the trick that they have. So the first exercise we're going to look at to kind of show that to you is this right here. So notice you have 3 paragraphs, 1, 2, 3. These come from the free IELTS sample test materials on the IELTS website if you're interested in checking these out. So in this activity, you have to compare the information here, 1, 2, 3, and choose either true, false, or not given in reference to the passage up here. If you have evidence that confirms it to be true, you choose true. If you have contradictory evidence that proves it false, you choose false. And if the correct answer is I don't know, or I can't figure it out, or there's no evidence, you choose not given. So for this activity, I'm going to give you guys, let's say, about 4 or 5 minutes. I won't have a timer. We'll just kind of take it easy. So it's 10:36 right now. So we'll talk together in about 10:41. Okay, good job, guys. Or good luck, guys. Yes, just to be clear, each question could either be true, false, or not given. So it's possible to have true, 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 false, 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 or some combination thereof. It's not like you have to use each one of these once. Okay, so just to clarify that. Okay, so rather than talk about the answers here, which we will do, instead you need to talk about the trick that IELTS likes to play. And the trick they like to play is, like I said, literally vocab. That's it. It's very different than the TOEFL. TOEFL has like 5 or 6 tricks, you know, like inference questions or sentence addition with pronouns or, you know, main idea from paragraphs, etc., etc. The IELTS, really, their only trick is changing vocabulary. And I'll give you an example with number 1 here. Do you see the word both? Right there? If you go to the passage, do we have evidence that either supports this or contradicts this? From a vocab perspective. Okay, any volunteers for number 1 here? All right, let's go to Shrushti. Hey, Shrushti. So what do you think? Do we have evidence to either support this or contradict this?
Yeah, hi, Greg. We do have evidence to contrast this.
Okay, and what is that word or phrase?
Soul winner.
Yeah, exactly. So what exactly is IELTS even testing here? They're just testing, do you know the word both and do you know the word soul? That's it, right? And so what is the answer? True, false, not given?
False.
Yeah, this would be false. Because in, what is it, 1911, she won it by herself. So obviously her husband was not in on the second one there. Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Going to number 2. Any volunteers about number 2? We can talk about it together. Let's go to Aditya. Hey, Aditya. Number 2, what would you say is the key word that we need to look for in the passage? Or words?
Well, I just said the answer is not given because it's not mentioned anywhere.
Again, remember, we don't really care about the answer. I feel like if you guys focus a little bit too much on the answer, you're not necessarily focusing on the process. Remember, IELTS's trick is just vocab. So looking at number 2, what kind of vocab words or synonyms or antonyms would I be kind of focusing on? Let's go to Tia. What do you think, Tia?
Hey, Greg, I'd see childhood.
Yeah, definitely when she was a child. That right there is key piece of information, right? So the question is, does the passage talk about her as a child?
It doesn't mention whether she was interested in science.
We haven't talked about that yet. Remember, you guys are always so eager to kind of jump ahead. Yeah, so does the passage talk about childhood?
She had a good memory.
Yes, it does. Right there. Again, try not to be so eager to jump to the answer. Remember, try to get into IELTS's head, how they construct the test, how they make the test, right? So, yes, it does talk about childhood. That is important. But there's another key phrase in number 2. What is that other key phrase?
Became interested.
Yeah, interested in science, right there. So, looking at the information here about her childhood, do we have any synonyms and or antonyms about becoming interested in science?
No.
No. What does it say about her childhood?
She had a good memory.
Yeah, that's it. Does good memory equal interested in science?
No.
No, it doesn't. So what would we choose here? False or not given?
It's not given.
Yeah, exactly. Because we don't have anything to kind of go against it. Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, I do need a volunteer for the last one. Anyone want to talk about the last one? Let's go to Kershid. Hey, Kershid, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. So looking at number 3, what would you identify as kind of the key words here?
I think in the second paragraph.
No. Remember,
Yeah.
You guys are always so eager to jump. If you guys don't follow a process, whenever questions get difficult, it starts to backfire.
I think finance.
Yeah, so looking at the number 3 question, what kind of words or phrases kind of stick out to us?
Financial.
Yep, financial number 1, but who is it coming from?
Sister.
Yeah, it was coming from the sister's financial contribution right there. Okay, so that's number 1. And then what did that financial contribution allow according to number 3?
Allowing her to study in the university.
At the Sorbonne, right? Okay. So according to this, number 3, she was able to go to school because of the sister gave money. Now go to the passage. Do we have evidence to either support that or contradict that?
I think in the second paragraph, it talks about the financial contribution from Mary, and then in turn, she would help her get an education.
Right. So in turn implies that the sister would do finance stuff for her education. But this is just a promise. Whereas sentence number 3 says it was true. So do we have any evidence that this actually happened?
Yeah. In 1893, this promise was fulfilled.
Exactly. So this promise was fulfilled, so we know that this is true, right?
Yeah.
So what would we choose? True, false, not given?
True.
Okay, correct answer is true. Yep. So again, remember, try not to get so caught up in the answers, everybody. The answers are not that important. Much more important is going to be the process that we follow and kind of understanding what the tricks that IELTS has are and stuff like that. All right, any questions about this? Any questions? Hey, Ananya, what's up?
Hey, so just one clarification. It does say that Mary finances her sister and then in turn later help her to get an education.
Correct.
So they won't throw a technicality at us by saying that this does not exactly say that the sister would explicitly finance Mary's.
Well, I would say this. I would say in paragraph number 2, we don't know if it actually happened or not, right? I think that's the main thing.
I'm not asking if it happened or not. I'm asking, is it a financial help or some other help?
Well, look at the sentence before.
We can safely assume it's a financial help.
But look at the sentence before in turn. Does it say, it says finance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you're saying like she could have helped in some other way, like writing like a message to the dean or something like that?
Yeah, maybe some technicality like that. We don't have to worry about that, right?
IELTS can be tricky, but would it be that tricky? That seems a little bit too far.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Like that would almost seem like they're opening themselves up to a lot of argument and stuff like that. Yeah.
Got it.
So it's kind of interesting because this is it. That's IELTS trick. That is IELTS only trick. Their only trick is that. It's just support the evidence, contrast the evidence. That's it, right? So the correct answer here is false, not given, and true. Do we have any other questions about this before we look at another one? I have a question for you. Do we even need to read the passage? I would say no. The reason we read the TOEFL passage before we look at the questions is because we want to get those main ideas of paragraphs, knowing that the last question will ask us about main ideas of paragraphs. The IELTS doesn't usually do that. The IELTS usually just does a lot of factual, specific, detail information. So given that, you don't even necessarily need to read the passage beforehand. You can just go straight to the questions. Obviously, that is something you'll have to experiment with, though. All right, let's go ahead and look at this activity. Oh, we have a question from Andre. Hey, Andre.
Yeah, hi, Greg.
Hey.
But regarding that you are saying, do you advise to read all the passage or not?
I would say experiment, but if you don't read the passage and you go straight to the questions, I don't think it's necessarily a big problem. Like, I'll show you what I mean here. If you look at paragraph, or the question number 1 right here, it tells me in paragraph 1, the writer suggests that companies could consider. So knowing that IELTS likes to change vocabulary, what is another way to say companies? You know, firms, corporations, something like that. What is another way to say could consider? Think about or discuss, you know, something like that, right? So I go to paragraph number 1 and I look for something about the companies considering something. So let's see. They take another maybe checked, but most of them will come with the idea, although so retaining may mean employing them in different ways. So what should they consider? Most employers, which is kind of a synonym of companies, and many workers are uncomfortable with the idea of reducing someone's pay in later life, although manual workers on piece rates often earn less as they get older. So retaining the services of older workers may mean employing them in different ways. So maybe they should consider giving them different jobs, right?
Yeah.
You know, giving them different jobs and stuff like that, or using them in different ways, blah, blah, blah. So now if you go to the answer choices, using this information right here, you just have to choose the closest synonym to that. Do you see any synonym for abolishing anything? No. So that is out, right?
Yeah, right.
Avoiding pay that is based on piece rates. The piece rates were more about the manual workers, right? Okay, so that is not really great either. Okay.
Yeah, it's the last one.
Yeah, increasing pay for older workers, not exactly. That's kind of the opposite. And then equipping older workers with new skills. Well, it does say employing them in different ways. Does that exactly mean new skills? Maybe yes, maybe no. You might want to see if you can find a little bit more evidence. So let's read a little bit more carefully. That might partly explain why, when employers are under pressure to cut costs, they persuade a 55-year-old to take early retirement, take away seniority-based pay scales, and older workers may become a much more attractive employment proposition. That might be another answer. So this, you guys all have a decision to make. Which one is most justified by the evidence from the passage? So, option number 1, take away seniority-based pay scales, and older workers may become a much more attractive employment proposition. That's number 1. Number 2, retaining the services of older workers may mean employing them in different ways. That's number 2. Which one of these is most closely supported? I'll let you guys think about that. Take about a minute. All right, knowing IELTS trick. The trick is they can only use synonyms, right? That's the trick. Look at D. Do we have a synonym for new? Maybe. Maybe. Different? Could that be a synonym for new? Maybe, right? Do we have a synonym for skills? Look at the paragraph. Does anyone see a synonym for skills? Like technique or expertise or anything like that. Would you consider ways to be a synonym for skills? I don't know, right? Let's go to answer choice A. Do we have a synonym for abolishing? What would you say? What would you say is the synonym? Yeah, does everyone see take away? Looks pretty good, right? Do we have a synonym for based on age? Based on age. Yeah, seniority based. Seniority based. Looks pretty good, right? And then finally, do we have a synonym for pay schemes? Pay scales. So using IELTS trick and using our knowledge of how the test is constructed, should we choose A or D? Yeah, choose A. So does everyone understand what I mean by IELTS only has one trick? Do you guys understand what I mean by that? The trick is just using synonyms, right? And if you can't justify, like the word skills here, it's probably the wrong answer. All right, any questions about that before you guys try 2, 3, 4? Any questions about kind of IELTS's trick or how to best attack this? All right, going once. Question from Aditya. Hey, Aditya.
Hi, Greg. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, so I wanted to know, like, I have my IELTS in a week. So, like, should I, follow the GRE techniques? Like, first I, read the questions here, not like the GRE, read the questions, and then go to the passage and then find the answer. And if I'm confused, like you were right now, so do POV and then justify the answers.
I would say that the IELTS is quite different than the GRE. So it really is not the same thing. The IELTS is, like we said, just trying to find synonyms. So it's a little bit different. I mean, there obviously are some similarities, like with the scanning technique and things of that nature, but no, I would consider them quite different. The IELTS, the GRE is much more of a thinking test, whereas this is much more of a just matching synonyms test. You know, this synonym matches with this synonym, like that.
So you would just read the questions and then look for synonyms in the answer.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, or I would find an answer that I'm leaning toward, and then try to find the synonym matching, just to confirm it.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Question from Tia. Hey, Tia.
Hey, Greg, could you give some, the previous one that we did about true, false, and not given, that was more or less a bit easier, but I find true or false comparatively difficult when it comes to IELTS compared to the other stuff.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's the same process. If it's a true answer, you can justify every piece of it. Like you go, oh, that's a synonym, that's a synonym, that's a synonym. If it's false, you find something contradictory. Do you remember here we found both and soul being opposite words? Right there. So you just have to kind of follow that process.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
All right, guys. Do 2, 3, 4. I'll give you about 3 minutes. Good luck. One more minute. All right, can I have a volunteer for number 2? I want you to just tell me the answer you chose and kind of match it to the passage. Like this word matches with this word, etc. Let's go to Arushi. So Arushi, for number 2, what answer did you choose?
I chose C.
Okay, and go ahead and match for me. Like, where does it say allows?
Allowing it in the second last
same word, right? Okay, good.
Yes.
Where does it say
Then
expertise?
Intellectual capital.
Good job. Intellectual capital. Where does it say of... it doesn't say older workers. It says it before. Where does it say, like, be put to use? Like, what's the synonym there?
Otherwise have lost.
Or I was thinking retain access. You know, they can still use it. If you have access to it, you can still use it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, here's another way to think about it. We can cancel out A, B, and D, right? So tell me if A is true or false. Do they get increases in salary?
No, it's not. They say that 88% of the last IBM salary.
It's actually a 12% decrease, right? So that's out. Can they work as long as they want?
No, up to the age of 60.
Yeah, so exactly. Up to the age of 60. That's out. Is it treating older and younger workers equally?
Younger workers are, it's not said that younger workers are employed or not.
Well, and it even says like 55 to 60. So obviously this is not something that younger workers have access to, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Correct answer is C. Very good. Can I take a volunteer for the next one, number 3? Same thing. I want you to tell me what answer you chose and kind of do the vocabulary. Let's go to Simranjeet. Hey, Simranjeet, what's up?
Hey, Greg. So for D, I chose. So for the third one, I chose D.
Yep. So let's stop right there. Where does it say appeal to?
The first line, tempt, I guess.
Yeah, tempt is not bad. I like that. That's a good one. How do we know it's distinct groups?
So I guess in the third last line, it has mentioned 2 very different types of bridge job holder.
Yep. So 2 very different types, and different is a direct synonym of distinct, right? And then how do we know groups? Well, groups is of course types right there, right?
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
And then where does it say older worker?
I mean the whole
thing. Yeah, it doesn't directly reference it. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other answer choices. A, is that true, false? You know, what's going on with A?
I think it does not mention anywhere about middle salary.
It actually does, because it says it appeals only to the rich and the poor. So if it appeals only to the rich and the poor, who doesn't use it?
I mean, it focuses on the older workers, so that was my thinking.
No, this is not about the older workers. Look at the 2 very different groups. According to this, who continues working?
The ones who want to work and the ones who have to.
That's not exactly what it says. It says those who are the best paid and those who are the worst paid. So we're basically talking about the rich and the poor, right? So if only the rich and the poor are taking advantage of this program, are the middle salary ranges taking advantage of this or not?
No.
Yeah, so that's out, okay? B, are better paid than some full-time jobs. Do we have evidence supporting that, contrasting that?
No.
Okay, let's take a look. Part-time or temporary employment that creates a more gradual transition. Does it say anything about how they're paid? says nothing, right? Good.
Yeah.
Originated in the United States. Do we have any evidence about that?
No, we just have the evidence that it was studied in United States.
Yeah,
so
good
there's
job.
no evidence
Yeah,
for that.
good job. Thank you so much. All right, one more volunteer for the last one. Same thing. Tell me what answer you chose, and then we will kind of like do the matching game. Let's go to Shrikar. Hey, Shrikar. So what did you choose for this last one?
Hi, Greg.
Hey.
I choose option B.
B, as in boy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, where does it say older people are good at running their own businesses?
It showed statistically 70% of the business started by people over 55 survived.
Yep.
Where national average is only 19%.
Yep, 70% of businesses started by people over 55 survived. And how? But where does it say like they're better at it? I guess the question doesn't really say they're better, but it seems like they are better than the national average of only 19%. Yeah, very good. That is the correct answer. So you guys might be wondering, why do we move through this so slowly? Can't we move through this more quickly? The answer is, I suppose, but if you want to get a really high score on this test, it's very important that you understand how the test works. How the test works. So if you're working for IELTS, here's what you do. You create a question. And you have A, B, C, and D. Let's say B is the correct answer, which means you're just going to change the vocab. Right? You're just going to change the vocab to a bunch of synonyms. A is going to be the opposite of the passage in some way, so false. C is going to be the opposite of the passage in some way, so false. And D is going to be not given, as in we have no evidence. Isn't this literally the same thing as activity number 1? Isn't that exactly the same thing? So this is what I mean by IELTS only has one trick. The trick is true, false, not given. True and false depend directly on evidence from the passage, whereas not given basically means you just have no evidence. Correct answer is A, C, D, B. Okay, any questions about this? Question from Ananya. Hey, Ananya.
Hey, so can you just explain in the third paragraph,
Sure.
Where the line starts, in general, it is the best paid and the worst paid to carry on working.
Right.
So by carry on working, they mean that the people who go into bridge jobs are the best paid and the worst paid.
Right here, look at the next sentence. There seem to be two very different types of bridge job holder.
Okay, those who continue working because they have to, and those who continue working because they want to, even though they could afford to retire. Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah, so those are synonyms for rich and poor, right?
Yeah, for best
yeah,
paid,
basically,
yeah.
those who continue working because they have to. That's a nice way of saying that these people have money trouble,
Worst paid.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And those who continue working because they want to, even though they could afford to retire, that's a nice way of saying these are rich people.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Let's go to Aditya. Hey, Aditya.
Hey, Greg. So my question is that, like I said, I have an exam in a week, so I should focus on this vocabulary thing, right? That's it for the whole week.
I mean, even when you prepare for the IELTS, in my opinion, yes. I mean, you can get a lot of, there's a lot of official IELTS material out there, you know, in the Cambridge books, the practice test paper books. So you don't get a couple of those and just practice and just notice how they do this all the time.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah,
So much.
put it this way, any answer you choose has to be justified with evidence from the passage. So kind of force yourself to do that.
So I have to justify in the end, right?
Well, I mean, ideally it would happen simultaneously, right? You know,
Okay,
but
but I saw your lectures, the videos, and there was this one thing that, all the questions are in order, so I really like that. So,
yeah, the questions are in order. That's what I mean. IELTS is so much like less tricky than the TOEFL, you know, because IELTS. Notice all of these are in order, right?
Yeah.
Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 4. If you even look at the true, false, not given, those were all in order as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it makes the job a lot easier.
I think so, which is, again, more evidence that you don't really need to read the passage.
Yeah, you just have to focus on the exact things and just answer and then move on.
Basically, you just have to focus on synonyms.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's basically scanning and a vocab test.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It really is kind of stupid because it's really just a bunch of complicated ways to test your vocab.
And if you're not able to find it, then use POV.
Right,
you always
exactly.
already-
You can always attack
Yeah.
questions from 2 angles, yeah.
Yeah, got it. Thank you so much.
We do have one more activity. So I'm sorry if this is a little bit small. So I won't give you guys any advice. We won't do any of these together. But what you're doing is you're just matching each one of these groups of people, you know, the Chinese, the Indians, the British, the Arabs, the Americans, to one of these inventions. Okay? You may use any letter more than once. All right, guys, I'll give you about 4 minutes, 5 minutes for this activity. Good luck. Okay, we'll do 1 more minute. 1 more minute. Okay, can I take any volunteers? Black powder. Who invented black powder? Manal? Hey, Manal, what do you think?
Yeah, the Chinese.
Okay, and
the
how do you
answer.
know that? Like, what's the evidence?
It is the most historian of technology credit the Chinese with its discovery.
Right. So the Chinese discovered it, the Chinese invented it. Credit means that they're responsible for it. Yep, very good. Thank you so much. Who did the rocket-propelled arrows for fighting? Let's go to Arushi. Arushi, what do you think?
Hi, Greg. This is Chinese only.
Exactly. So again, the Chinese did the rocket-propelled arrows for fighting. Where does it say that?
Arrows like flying leopards.
Yeah, arrows. There was a lot. Like arrow is a flying saber. There was another one. Arrows like flying leopards. And we know that these were coming rocket propelled because it said right here, powder propelled fire arrows right there. Yep, very good. Thank you so much. Next one, who did rockets as war weapons? I see a lot of volunteers. I bet you guys are feeling a little bit of like, yeah. Aditya, who did rockets as war weapons?
The Indians.
Yeah, against the British, right?
I was shocked, to be honest.
And actually, I looked it up on Wikipedia if you guys want to check it out. So this is a true piece of information. Let me post the link here. So they were called Mysorean rockets. I can read.
There's irony here.
Yeah, Mysorean rockets were an Indian military weapon. The first iron-cased rockets successfully deployed for military use. So that's pretty cool. All right, and then finally, who did the rocket launcher? Let's go to Ananya. Who did the rocket launcher, Ananya?
The Americans.
Yeah, the Americans did the rocket launcher. And of course, the evidence for that is right here with its own
The Americans
launcher.
developed a rocket complete with this.
All right, guys. That's all I have for you today. But let's talk about what we learned. IELTS is not like the GRE. There's actually very little thinking involved. Most of it is purely just a vocab test. Vocab, matching. Oh, that's the opposite of that. Second thing that we want to take home from this is there's a lot of sample IELTS material, like practice tests. You know, if you purchase the Cambridge IELTS books, each one of those has 4 practice tests in it. And those are like legit. Each practice test has 3 reading passages, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot of material. So there's a lot of stuff out there. IELTS really only has one trick. As you can see, it's a lot less academic than the TOEFL. It's almost like you're reading magazine articles, stuff like that. And finally, you don't really need to read the passage. In many cases, you can just, do the questions, do the answers. All right, any questions to wrap it up before we call it a day? All right, question from Parth. Hey, Parth.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine. Actually, Greg, I want to know that when we apply for IELTS, we get a book at home. IELTS Academic 14, it is written on the page, on the cover.
I don't know
should
that. Yeah,
I read the whole book? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Do they give you a free book when you sign up?
Yes. When I paid, I get a book.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, use that. For sure.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Aditya. Hey, Aditya.
Yeah, hi Greg. Just one last question.
Sure.
So I've been struggling with listening. I'm getting I've been consistent with like an 8.5 score.
You have been struggling. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
No,
Woo.
so I.
Yeah, 8.5. Rough, man. So wait, are you really saying you're struggling with an 8.5?
Yeah, so the problem is that sometimes during the listening, I just divert from what the person is saying. I just go into like this mystery land. I'm thinking about something else, what I have to do after this. So how do I focus?
Honestly, if you're getting an 8.5 in IELTS listening, I have no advice for you. And I don't mean that to be rude. I mean, you're nearly perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, I mean, keep at it. You're obviously doing something, right? All right, let's go to Vedant. Hey, Vedant, what's up?
Hey, I just wanted to ask if these tricks would be useful in TOEFL as well.
A little bit. The problem is TOEFL has a lot of different question types where these tricks are not as useful. For example, sentence addition. You have to add a sentence, right? These tricks are not useful. Another thing would be vocabulary, just outright vocab questions. These tricks are not useful. Passage summary, not very useful. Author's purpose, not very useful. So yeah, you can see TOEFL and IELTS are quite different in the way they approach the reading.
Okay.
Yep. But in terms of like a factual question or an inference question, yeah, I would say these techniques are pretty useful. Okay, guys, it looks like that's it for the questions. Sorry to cut the class a little bit short, but we'll just, can't always go an hour. Everyone have a great day. Talk to you later.